Um, I could like show you a little bit more of the modules, just tell very quickly what each of them is. And so what do we have here? This one is a T-kick. It's sort of in the basic operation mode. It's really a kick, analog one, and it sounds really like nice and soft. And there is some click tune, and you can CV control the tuning of the kick. But there is also there is a CV input. There is my favorite WTF input. You have also a square output, which is really harsh, and then you have a click output. And there is also a resonance range switch, which sort of limits the resonance from self-oscillating. So when I flip it up, it starts to work as sort of a VCO. It doesn't track 1 volt per octave, but it's like good for some stuff. Another module here is the noise square. And it's a noise and square signal source. So there is here there is a white noise analog, pink noise analog, digital noise in here, a metallic noise. That's sort of like the 808 6 oscillator sound bank with tone control and also like CV controllable. The same for the digital noise. There is a switch to actually flip whether the CV input affects this one or this one. And then we have a square oscillator with a tune knob and a cow output, which is like this square wave doubled, like 2 square waves actually in a certain ratio to be suitable for making cowbell sounds. So and then like to complete these sort of like drum machine modules, I have the skis here, which is dual decay generator with the adjustable decay on the potties, and then like in the lower part there is 2 VCAs. So basically it's 2-channel decay and VCA combined in very slim module. And I really like this VCA crunch switch, which sort of puts into the signal path very like lo-fi VCA, like MOSFET VCA, that was originally used by one of our patrons from the Bastl generation, Standa Philip, in his like analog drum designs. And I'm really happy to have this switch here because the VCA it just sounds. Yeah, it has its flavor and I really love it. Then what we have is Cuatro Figaro, and that's a quad VCA, and it has a certain like inner routing. So there is for each CV input there is inverted CV output, which is normalized to the CV input of the next channel. So what it means is that you can very easily set it up for panning situation or crossfading, where you need sort of this inverted CV control. And there is also a mixed output, so it can be used as a voltage controlled mixer, or as I said, as a voltage controlled crossfader panner. And it's very like easy to set it up once you get to know like how the normalization is done in the module. Then we have very simple 6-channel mixer. That's sort of more like a utility module. There is 3 and 3 channels, and each of them has its own output. But if you don't plug this channel, it's a like 6-channel mixer. And it can be also configured to work for CV or audio signals. So it can be either DC or AC coupled. There is little solder jumpers inside to configure this. Next we have the cinnamon filter. We've already talked about it. The T-kick I've already mentioned. And then we have something that a lot of people were excited about. That's the Grandpa. That's a granular sampler. So there is micro SD card in here, and yeah, you have like 2 knobs and 1 button to change the color of the RGB, and here it says like what every knob does on every page. So there is 8 parameters in total you can adjust for every sample. There is sample rate, distortion, and then the granular stuff, grain size and the grain shift, which can either go forward or backward. Then we have attack and release, digital envelope, and then you can select start and end point of the sample. And what's like, there is up and down buttons to select the samples, and there is actually 2 different samples you can trigger. So you have trigger in A and trigger in B, and you can trigger 2 different samples. But this one is monophonic, so it can play only one of them. But you can use it really for like open close hi-hat or for some harmonic variations. And each of the sample has like all of its settings completely independent. And you can also store presets, and also there is a CV input, one of them. There is just one, and you can assign the CV input to control any of those parameters I've mentioned, but it can be also configured to work as a trigger to trigger the grain shifts. Yeah, so you can like loop the graining and have it moved through the sample by triggering it externally, which I think is really like exciting. And the output is 0 to 5 volts DC coupled, which means that in the silence there is a bit of voltage offset, but the advantage is that if you make yourself some special samples, you can use it as quite sophisticated CV source as well. Then we have a simple multiple. We also gave a bit of design twist to the multiple because there is one wire that you can cut to configure if it's like 3, 3, 3 multiple, or if it's 4 and 5 multiple. So it's like configurable multiple. Then we have Little Nerd. That's really my favorite. It's a clock and trigger processor, and I actually think of it more as a utility toolie. It's really like a utility box, but actually you can do a sequencing. There is 2 inputs, 1 and 2, and 5 outputs, and each of the outputs can be set to do many different stuff. It can be trigger delay, trigger divider, offset table divider, flopping divider. It can be clock multiplier. It can also be trigger repeater, which is really nice. So you send a clock in and it repeats the clock several times. You set how many clocks and how fast it repeats. That's great for claps or for some other stuff. And there is also Euclidean sequencer, simple clock oscillator, and also probability. And I guess some of the stuff I forgot, but I just really try to pack in everything that you possibly want to do with triggers or clocks. And I just haven't mentioned this one. That's a trigger gate sequencer, Nitrider, and it has really fast workflow. So you basically select a channel you want to edit, and then you can use just those buttons here to edit the steps. It goes this way, as you can see, and it's really like super fast to edit. So now I have like a 16-step pattern, and on every step I can hold the step and edit sub-steps to this step. Yeah. So now, like in this step, it plays those 3 sub-steps. So this is like a zoomed in that step. And I can also set how many steps there are per each voice. It could be any number. I have it now set to 16-step sequencers, but it can go to 64 steps. And then you use the bar buttons to navigate through the first 16, second 16 steps to the last 64 steps. So there is really a lot of steps and a lot of details you can do for the editing. Of course, it saves everything. There is a micro SD card, and it stores it there. It has its own file system. It's not really to be edited in the computer, but yeah, it's there. And there is patterns. You can do many different patterns. There's 64 different patterns, and each of them has what I've just said. Yeah, 64 steps per channel, plus every step has 4 sub-steps. Yeah.
Is the full system available now?
The full system is available now for pre-orders. So if you basically pay a third of the price, you are put on the waiting list. And once we have the system built, we would ask to the customers to pay the other 2/3. So that's sort of like a deposit because we are still like startup company. So we need some money to build those systems. And yeah, it's called Rumburack, and it costs 1,799 euros without tax.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Thanks.